Hi, South Florida. I'm Eric Yutzi.
I'm JC Birch. We need to get to our meteorologist with that 5 a.m. advisory right now because that's the most important thing you want to hear about. Yeah. We've got Luke Doris in the Weather Authority Center. We've got Julie here in the studio with us. So let's get straight to it, guys. Everybody wants to know what this is showing.
That's right. Well, it's still a powerful hurricane. Winds of still 165 miles per hour. That has not changed since the earlier advisory. Pressure has still stayed at 916 millibars, and unfortunately, it is still crawling to the west at 1 mile per hour. The new location is 40 miles just east of Freeport. As it's continuing on that path very slowly, it is providing more rain, more storm surge, devastating winds for parts of the Bahamas that do not need any more. Look how large this system is. From one side to the next, the diameter around 202 miles, give or take. The system is huge. It is really accompanying much of the Bahamas still, all the way down to Bimini, still dealing with the rain, and also, of course, Abaco, and unfortunately, where we're seeing this system, those worst of the rain bands wrapping around that eye wall, the strongest part of the hurricane, where we see the worst and the most destructive winds. It's located about 120 miles, give or take, off our coast from West Palm Beach to where the actual center is located. And I bring that to your attention so you understand why we could see the possibility of tropical storm force winds here in Broward County, where Miami-Dade, we're talking tropical storm force winds as gust, not sustained winds. And that's why we'll notice part of our area, part of our county is under that tropical storm watch, which is Broward, Fort Lauderdale, not Miami-Dade. Here's the new forecast cone. It does have the system staying as a Category 4, hugging our coastline going into Tuesday morning. So really, that's when we're going to feel our impacts here in South Florida today into tomorrow before it lifts more towards the north, hugging the coast somewhere near northern Florida, possibly staying offshore or coming onshore as a Category 3 or 4 hurricane. So lots we need to watch once the system does move north, but obviously we're more worried about our impacts here in South Florida. Tropical storm watch is still in effect for Fort Lauderdale. There's a hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning for West Palm Beach. We have a hurricane warning in effect for the Bahamas. No surprise. So what does that mean for us locally? What does that mean for you sitting at home right now in Oakland Park and in Deerfield Beach? Well, there's a possibility of winds as strong as 40 miles per hour with gusts even stronger. That's why, once again, Fort Lauderdale is under the tropical storm watch. For you in, we'll say, Sunny Isles, Aventura, Miami, all the way down to Homestead, you could be seeing wind gusts of 40 miles per hour. But again, we're not expecting the sustained winds to be that strong in Miami-Dade as the system is further north of you. So breaking down the timeline, this afternoon into Tuesday, we could see winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour for you in Miami-Dade. This morning, we're already seeing some gusts in the 20s, and that will continue for Broward. That will get as strong as up to 35, plus even stronger miles per hour. And obviously much stronger wind gusts expected, hurricane force winds for West Palm Beach. With the wind will come with the rain. We are expecting anywhere between 2 to 4 more inches of rain, isolated up to 6 inches for parts of Broward and Miami-Dade, even worse for our friends to the north. And speaking of rain, I've got some on the radar. I'll get to that in just a minute, but I'm going to toss it over to meteorologist Luke Doris for more on that 5 a.m. forecast.
Yeah, let's take a look at the satellite, and this is just the absolute worst possible path that this storm could be taking over the northwestern Bahamas. Of course, it went over Abaco yesterday, and then it's just running right along Grand Bahama, the eye like right in the center, and stalling out as it goes. Sweet and Kay, you had this for almost 2 hours this morning, experiencing the eye wall of some kind, and now it has slowed down even further from there. Just the absolute worst part, right over a high rock. You can see that they've been dealing with the eye wall in this location for an extent. This is a 12-hour loop, by the way. So we're looking at 2-3 hours where one side has just been hammering with that north wind just near high rock. So Grand Bahama, you're just to the west of it. Let's pull the view out here a little bit, look at it on satellite. So Sweet and Kay, you can see around here, there's so just hammered earlier today, and now there's a secondary eye wall that's trying to form. So this is our primary eye wall. That's the one that has been the strongest, but now there's a second one that's building, and that is not quite as powerful as the first one, but it's bringing an extended period of just horrendous weather all the way around. Sometimes what you'll often see is away from the main eye wall, a significant drop off in how bad the weather is. But with the second one forming, it's keeping it just terrible all the way through Grand Bahama. Freeport, you're not in the worst of it. Grand Bahama, you've got a nasty line. But what this is going to do is stop here, or basically stop, and then just barely nudge through the rest of the day all the way through Grand Bahama, and then it finally is expected to take that turn northward. So if you can see us, I know that we have viewers in the Bahamas. It's moving its way very, very slowly westward, and it's just a horrendous storm. So take whatever precautions that you can. 165 miles per hour is the current advisory, moving west at 1 mile per hour. We're going to have it all day long here, and you compare this to what we had yesterday, and it's dropped off by about 20 miles per hour and still is a Category 5. What we had yesterday ties as the strongest hurricane to ever make landfall and be measured. So there have been stronger storms before, but they've been out over the ocean. To have one that's measured at landfall is this one, and also the Labor Day hurricane of 1935. So this is what's been steering it. High pressure has been putting a flow out of the east on it. That's why it's been moving westward. That is basically done. That high is no longer tugging on it. So a lot of us want to know when's it going to turn north and why. Well, it stopped because nothing's pushing on it. But do you see this? This is an upper level low. This will grab it probably by Tuesday morning. And by Tuesday morning, that's what's going to tug it off to the north. Okay, so let's look at the modeling here. This is the spaghetti models with the European overlaid on top of it, and they all agree that it turns northward. So here is the Broward County line. It's not looking to make any turns southward. The consensus is that it gets to about the west side of Grand Bahama and then starts that northward tug. Even the European is in agreement now. Yesterday, that was the one that we were a little bit concerned about. It's a very close shave along the east coast of Florida. Here we are up by Cape Canaveral, and notice the Hurricane Center forecast in the European offshore, but a close shave. And a couple of these too close for comfort. This would bring impacts regardless, but the center of the storm very close, especially with this blue model that you see. That's what we call the H-Wharf, and that is a very high resolution model, and that takes into account other models don't. So the question is, how strong will the storm be? If it's a strong storm and can tap into, let's say, the Gulf Stream and remain a very deep and tall storm, then it's likely that it will stay out over just offshore. But if it's a little bit weaker because it's moving so slow and it's pulling up colder water from below, then it won't be quite as tall. And then it's going to be more likely to have a westward push on it, and that's what this model is trying to display. So Cape Canaveral could be very, very close to it. Regardless, it's just offshore or flirting with a landfall all the way up into the southeast. So we go past Jacksonville, Savannah, and then even up toward Cape Hatteras as we go to Thursday. But the storm is moving away from South Florida, just moving very, very slowly at the moment. So we do feel the impacts of it. We have the rain bands this morning. Julie, I know that you're watching those on radar.
We've got some showers moving through portions of Broward County and the Keys. Moderate to heavy precipitation is right over portions of Boca Raton and then pushing offshore. As you can see, that's going to be the wrapping around those bands that will affect our local forecast. Moderate to heavy rain right now over Marathon Key. This is going to head from the northwest to the southeast, so more precipitation for you in Grassy Key as well. So definitely going to have to deal with the impacts of the outer bands of this system, bringing us some heavy rain and some gusty winds today. And for you in the Keys, we definitely need to keep an eye on you because you're going to be seeing those outer bands too, and with those winds it could be pretty dangerous. So as we take a look at our forecast, highs today will be reaching the lower 90s. I'm going to break down the Labor Day forecast hour by hour for you in just a minute.